there, my name is Kelly Dale and I'm owner of Off the Beaded Path in Forest City, North Carolina. Thanks for stopping by and checking out this video. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a beautiful flat spiral stitch bracelet. Now this is a really fun, really quick bracelet to make. I actually had this up in my store and one of my customers, Karen, requested that I do a video on it. So Karen, this video is for you. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get our materials together and we'll get started. So here's the sample of my flat spiral stitch bracelet. To make this bracelet, what you're going to need is some size 11 seed beads, just regular seed beads. These are everywhere you see the silver in my bracelet. You're going to need some 4mm bicones. Today I'm using a 4mm crystal golden flare Preciosa bicone. They are going to be on the outside of your piece and they're going to be right next to your size 11 seed bead. You're going to need some 6mm bicones. These are going to go straight down the center of your bracelet. You will need a clasp. I've chosen to use a pewter silver toggle. You're going to need 2 crimp beads or tubes, a good pair of cutters. I'm going to use the new Mighty crimp pliers to show you guys how to use them, or you can use regular crimp pliers. And you will also need a regular piece of beading wire. I'm using a .018 49 strand wire. So you will also need a needle, and I use 6-pound fire line. So for mine today, I'm going to be using a clear 6-pound fire line. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire, and if you see how the bracelet is done here, I have my clasp, 1 bicone, and then I've got my crimp. So that's how we're going to work this bracelet. It works out really good because a lot of people actually stitch this using just regular fire line. And it works out good, but it's pretty flimsy. With this way, using actual wire to string your original row on, you can actually put a lobster claw with an extender chain or whatever, and you actually get a lot better wear out of it. And I always start with the biggest part of my toggle. So what I'm going to do is, on the end of my wire, I'll thread on a crimp tube, 1 6mm bicone, and then my clasp. Now you can also use a wire protector here, but it's not required. It's completely your choice. I'm going to take the little end of my wire and I'm going to run it back down through the crystal and my crimp tube. And then I'm going to pull it up to the end of my clasp. Now, if you've never used the Mighty crimp pliers, they look massive, but let me tell you, these suckers are the best thing to come out since sliced bread. First thing you have to do to use your Mighty crimp pliers is it has this little lever on it. And I actually already have mine ready to go. But when you press it the first time, what it does is it's going to lock your handles into place so that way they won't move. Now, I'm going to lift the lever, and turning it this way, when I open it up, you can see the little V shape there in the center and the little V shape here in the top. We are going to put our crimp tube inside of that V shape. So I'm going to lay it right down in there, and looking straight on at it this way, I want to make sure that I don't have any overlap on either side of my crimp. And I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pliers now and I'm just going to press it. In one press, it's done. So I'm going to lift my lever and pull it out, and I want to make sure by pulling on it good and tight that it's done. If it's not done, then I will simply press it once to lock my handles into place. I will put it right back in the same exact way, making sure I get it in there good, and then I'm going to press again. Now, pressing these twice, nothing will hurt this. It will just make it go back the way that it should be, completely pressed. Now, I'm going to go ahead and trim my little piece of wire here. You can leave it if you want, but I like to trim it because you're going to have so much going on in these first couple of beads that you want to be able to get that needle and thread back there in there a few times. Now the sample that I've made here, I know that it's the size that I want. I like my bracelets a little bit loose. And complete total going down my bracelet, I have 31 6mm bicones, this being number 1. So I'm going to thread on 29 more bicones and then my crimp tube. Once you have your chosen amount of beads, you want to end with a crimp tube. Now once I have that crimp tube on there, I'm going to thread on my very last bead. So mine, it will be bead 31. Then I'm going to thread on the second part of my closure. I'm going to bring my wire down and I'm going to run it back through that first bicone, which would be the very last one I put on there, and then the crimp tube, and I will pull. Now, you want to be sure, number 1, I always test my bracelet's tightnesses. Tightnesses, is that a word? I don't think it is. Anyways, I'm going to test the tightness of my bracelet by, you know, trying to clasp it first to make sure it'll fit. Now, because I'm going to be using a size 11 seed bead and needles going back through here, I want to be sure and leave myself just a little bit of room so that I can have a little space to get the needle through these beads. So again, I'm ready to crimp my crimp. So I'm going to press the lever first to lock my handles into place. I'm going to pick up and put the crimp right inside its little container there where I want it. And then I'm going to take, and in one press is done. Now again, I'm going to open it up and test it, and it's good. But again, I want to show you, if you don't get it good the first time, just set it back in there and press it one more time and it'll come out. It takes, the first time I got these pliers, I actually played with them last year when they introduced them at the Bead and Button Show in Milwaukee. I played with them, and there was a young child who was demonstrating these crimp pliers. And I loved them, absolutely loved them. Like I said, I think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And the kid was just bam, bam, bam. He was pushing these things out. And so I decided, I said, well, let me try. And it took me a couple of tries before I got the hang of it. So don't get frustrated or upset if you're not getting it the first time, because like I said, it does take a little practice and a little getting used to. Now, I'm going to be using my fire line, like I said earlier. So here, I'm going to be using the clear line, and I'm going to thread my needle onto one end of my line. And I would probably use a size 10 beading needle for this. And just in case, the reason I want to use the size 10 is so that it has a smaller head to it, so I'll be able to get back through the beads without worrying about busting any of my crystals. Now I'm going to take the very end of my fire line, and I'm going to bring it in, and right here on this side of my crimp, because I'm going to work up this way, I'm actually going to take and tie this fire line onto the thread. So I'm tying it onto my wire. Make sure before you tighten it that it's on that side where it should be, because when you first start it out, it may not be there. And I'll put a couple of good knots in there. Normally I'm spastic, so I put about 3. Okay. Now, I will leave my tail for now, because what I'll do when I get ready to finish it out, I will actually weave that tail back into my work. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go up through 2 bicones, my very first 2 here on the base. And you're going to be using a lot of thread. It's going to be moving around, so if you have stuff on your work table, you may want to move it away from your table so that way you won't get anything caught. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm ready to start picking up my seed beads and working with them. So for this particular bracelet, I'm going to be picking up 4 seed beads, 1 crystal, and 4 seed beads. Now once I have those picked up, my thread is coming out of the second crystal here. I'm going to take my needle and come right back up through those same 2 crystals, so that when I pull, it's going to make a little loop of beads here on this one side. So then I'm going to do that again. 4 seed beads, a crystal, and 4 seed beads. And again, I'm going to take the thread and I'm going to come back up through these same 2 crystals that I'm coming out of. So that now I have a loop on each side of those 2 crystals. So for every bead that you have on there, every 2 beads, you're going to have a set just like this. One on one side, one on the other side. Now I'm ready to get into position to go to the next step. So all I'm going to do is come through the very next crystal. So I'm just going through 1 crystal. I'm going to pick up 4 seed beads, 1 4mm bicone, and 4 seed beads. And I'm going to take the needle. Now, I'm going every time I go up through my beads to add my embellishments here, I'm going to be going through 2 beads. So here we got into position by going through 1 bead. So now this is my first bead, this is my second bead. So I'm going to come right up through those 2 beads. So the top one and then the one right below it. So I'm going to go through and then right on through the one I was just coming out of, so that when I pull it, now my new embellishment overlaps my old embellishment. So again, 4 seed beads, 1 4mm bicone, and 4 seed beads. I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come through those same 2 crystals again. So the one at the top and the one right below it. Make sure I don't get anything caught here. And pull. Now, see, this time when I pulled, it kind of stayed to this side, so all I have to do is just pull it to the other side. So it'll look just like that. Now, to get into position for the next bead, or for my next embellishment, I'll just go up through 1 bead. And again, 4 seed beads, 1 4mm bicone, and 4 seed beads. This is my top bead. This is the one right below it. So I'm going to come through the one right below it and then the top bead. When I've taught this to people at my store, the biggest problem they have is they either forget to step up to start adding your embellishments, or they go through the wrong 2 beads. And if you do something wrong, if it doesn't look stacked on each other just like this one is, then you know you've done something wrong and you just have to pull back out. And a lot of times you'll be able to see it as soon as you pull out what you've done. So again, 4 seed beads, a 4mm bicone, and 4 seed beads. And I'm going to come through those same 2 crystals again. Pull it. Just lay your embellishment down like that. And then just go right through the next bicone in your base to continue on. So now you're going to continue this to the very end of your bracelet. Now that you've gotten to the end of your bracelet, I'm coming out of this very last bead here right before my crimp tube, and I'm ready to tie my thread off. So how I do that is I'm going to go ahead and come around, and I'm going to go through 4 seed beads of this last loop here. I'm going to go under the thread between the crystal and the seed bead. I'm going to leave myself a little loop, stick my needle through the loop, and then I'm going to pull, and you want to make sure that knot that you make goes between the seed bead and the crystal. And then I'm going to do it one more time. Now I'll actually stitch through a couple of beads and do the same thing again. Go under the thread between 2 beads, leave myself a loop, stick the needle through the loop, and then do my knot. And then once I've done a couple of knots, I will come back up through those same 2 beads again, and then I do it on the other side also. It's not necessary, but like I said earlier, I'm spastic with my knots, so I like to put about 50 knots in everything. So, do your knot, do a knot, and then to finish it off, what I'm simply going to do is come up through those last 2 crystals again. You can get them through there because it's going to be a tight squeeze. So I've gone through, and now I'm going to take my cutters and just trim that little extra piece of wire now so that I have my finished bracelet. And I'm so happy with the results. And the bracelet literally took me about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to make. So it works out really quickly. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the project and get a lot of use out of it. Be sure and check out our website, offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com, to purchase kits for either of these bracelets. Also, be sure and check out our video from last week to teach you how to make the ring. We do have video kits available for that one. And then also be sure and become a friend on our Facebook page, Off the Beaded Path. Hope you have a wonderful and blessed day.